Jackson Hole, Wyoming, a place known for its proximity to Yellowstone National Park, Grand Teton National Park, and for being the last of the Old West. There are 40,000 residents, and yet 4 million visitors pass through it annually. What's so special about Jackson? The recipe for Jackson is composed of tourism, a Western culture, an enriched history, the influence of wealth and philanthropy, and of course, its nature. Hello, my name is Chloe Wingard, and throughout this series, I will take you on a deep dive of Jackson's culture, examining it through the perspective of locals utilizing these 5 points. Let's start with a little overview. On a map, it's rather tiny. To find it, locate Yellowstone and move south. Now, Jackson is also known by its popular name, Jackson Hole. What's the difference? Jackson is the name of the town and Jackson Hole is the name of the valley, and both were named after Davy Jackson, a trapper. It was founded originally with the purpose of homesteading and ranching, but it has become a major tourist spot with most people coming here for the nature or perhaps a Western twist. But what made the people of Jackson stay? What drew them to Jackson?
My family came from my dad's parents who came from Switzerland in 1912. So that brought my grandparents into the valley, and they settled in what is now Teton National Park, but it was near Moosehead Ranch.
I read about the Tetons in National Geographic magazine as a young child, and they had an indelible impact on me. So certainly the mountains that were the draw here came for a season and never left, but it's the people that ultimately kept me here. The people of Wyoming and Jackson Hole were really amazing.
Yeah, the different landscape was so intriguing to me, just to be able to be surrounded by mountains, the wildlife. There's so much here that was different than what I was used to, and I think being somewhere different is a challenge, and it forces you to grow as a person. So I looked forward to that when I moved here.
We love the mountains, we love outdoors, we love to recreate, and at the same time Jackson's really unique because it's a small town with kind of a big city economy, so you can have a lot of different options.
But I married the rancher's daughter. I say I'm a cowboy that got lucky and married a rancher's daughter. But
I came out for a ski season, loved it. Felt like I owed it to myself to stay through the summer and see what that was all about. I met a girl, so I decided to give it another year, and she became my wife years and years and years later, and that was 20 years ago.
I'm a big outdoors guy, and so I loved the idea of being able to come out and live close to the national parks, endless opportunities for photography, which is something that I really enjoy. I'm a creative, so I love making videos, taking pictures, and there's just endless amounts of places to go out here and do that at, right? And also I have ties to the Verge here, and so my uncle, who is one of the investors that purchased the hotel, gave me a call and asked me if I wanted to come out to Jackson Hole and work at the hotel and also work in real estate, which is what I do for income. So I took him up on that offer, and here I am.
Okay, take note that when I interviewed these people, everyone had their own anecdote and each one was interesting and different. However, I noticed something that linked them across the board. Nature was that spark that fueled the flame. Like most small towns, the residents are a tight-knit and interwoven community. While this place is pretty transient, most people want to live here, not many can stay here due to the income, price of living, weather, the remoteness, etc. So, how long has my sample of the people of Jackson lived here?
20 years. Or 22. 22 years.
I've been here for 11 years now.
So I've been in Jackson since the beginning of last summertime.
I've been here pretty much a little off and on, but mostly since 2005.
This will be 13 years.
So I've been in Jackson for 20 years. I'm 21. So the first year of my life, I was born in China, actually. So for a year I was in China, and then when I was 1 year old, my parents adopted me, and then I've been here ever since.
I've been in the valley here for 25 years now.
I have been in Jackson since 2004.
About 16 and a half years.
I moved here in the summer of 1992, so I'm celebrating the 30th year here.
Well, I am coming up on my 4-year anniversary, which I am learning means I still have about 40 plus years to go to become a local.
Yeah.
But yeah, I moved here in June of 2018.
The average totals out to 20 and a half years. Since they have lived here so long, to them, what makes this area unique?
Just the beauty. We're just surrounded by open space. I think it's unique to me because it's not developed. It's surrounded by public land. You got mountains everywhere you look. It's just a beautiful mountain valley. It's kind of what I saw in my dreams when I was a kid. And I think we're directed that way. And it's like when I came here, I'm like, whoa. It's so breathtaking when you drive over, particularly this pass, and see the Tetons. There's just no place like it in the world.
So you are surrounded by beauty. Development here is restricted, and you have two of the first national park ever, but two national parks, one 15 minutes outside your door here in Jackson and another 45 minutes outside of Jackson.
There's a lot of great places to be able to escape to have some quiet time and alone time, and just even sitting out by the river or just spending time alone with God and enjoying the beauty all around us.
I believe it's just the outdoor culture that makes it unique. Largely, it's like everybody spends at least 3/4 of their year doing some sort of outdoor sport.
So I just think we're so unique because we value nature so much, and like the trees and the mountains. Obviously the Grand Tetons are very unique to Jackson, and especially just even in this whole country.
What makes it unique is the clean air, the crisp, beautiful mountains that are so tall and so majestic, and that the people that live here have to kind of be survivors, and they kind of have to be like a certain breed of humans in order to put up with the extremes, like 30 below zero weather and nearly slipping and falling when you're outside, all the time. And getting frostbite, and just, it's extreme here.
Surely they would know where best to hike, and yet it seems like everyone has their personal favorite.
I have to say, probably most of my favorite hikes are in the Tetons, just because I've spent a lot of time in there doing mostly work stuff. But yeah, I just love like all the trails in the Tetons. However, I recently hiked to Blue Miner Lake for the first time. That's in the Grovant last summer, and thought that was awesome. So I think that's my new favorite hike for now.
The Tetons are awesome. Up until now, I've been able to summit Mount St. John's on the north side, the Middle Teton, Buck Mountain, Grand Teton, and also Static Peak and Albright Peak. So I've checked off a few of them. Looking forward to trying to check off the rest of them. But yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite spots here.
In all parts of the Teton Crest Trail, that's what drew me here, is backpacking.
I'd say Cascade Canyons. I really like that one. It has a good incline, and I just love the view once you get up there. There's also kind of a trail that takes you all the way back and around to Teton Village.
So that I love the Lakeshore Trail in Coulter Bay, and I also love the Taggart Lake Trail in the park. And I think there's something to be said. Again, the national parks here are so accessible, and the fact that you can do a 2-mile loop in Coulter Bay on the Lakeshore Trail, and I have seen bears, I have seen eagles. I've seen all sorts of wildlife and some of the best views without gaining more than like 20 feet. It's incredible.
The Delta Lake hike is probably my favorite like afternoon hike, and it's not on the maps.
Also Phelps Lake hike.
So many cool places here. Hiking up to Phelps Lake is always really fun because there's two different paths. There's like an easier one that's like an hour maybe, kind of a harder one that's 2 to 3 hours maybe. It's just like a really fun, easy hike, and then your reward is, you know, to jump off Phelps Rock, like into the lake.
The Sleeping Indian hike.
I'd say my favorite hike is right up on Snow King there. I went up to Snow King and went around the backside, got up top. I got a little lost. I was with my younger brother when we first moved out. We didn't know what we were doing really, so it was kind of a cool exploration, but that's the...
There are many more, of course, but let's continue. For the size of the community, we have a myriad of world-class restaurants. What are the local go-tos?
Oh, my favorite restaurant in Jackson Hole is Blue Lion.
Our favorite restaurant is the Blue Lion. And I hate to admit it from a cowboy, but we like the lamb, a rack of lamb at the Blue Lion. There's no place like it.
Well, I'm a little biased here. You know, the best bar food in town is unequivocally the Silver Dollar, and that's just hands down. Other restaurants that I really enjoy are, we love sushi, we love King Sushi, we love the Kitchen, which is right here in the neighborhood. And then for other casual food, we like the Brew Pub. So a lot of good restaurants, and we love that.
My favorite restaurant for dinner is King Sushi, for sure. Yeah, my favorite, I'm also a bit of a coffee fanatic, so I love to go to Persephone for coffee.
Fun. I mean, I'm definitely a Persephone picnic fan. I love a good baked good and an overpriced latte. So I'm here for that. And I have to say, when I moved to Jackson, the thing that intrigued me the most about the food scene here was the amount and the quality of our Thai restaurants. I think it is wild for a town of 10, 15,000 people to have as many Thai restaurants as we do, and for them all to be so good. And I'm partial to Annie's Thai, if anyone's wondering. But yeah, I think the Thai restaurants are amazing.
It's the Noodle Kitchen. I love going to the Noodle Kitchen. I think that they have got a great bar there, and also just, you know, really good sushi.
The Snake River Grill.
You know, I have to say the Snake River Grill. I don't get to go often, but when we do go, it's really good. And I have to throw in the Blue Lion as well, the Blue Lion restaurant. I would say those are my two favorite restaurants.
Picas. Close second was Liberty Burger.
El Abuelitos for Mexican, definitely. And then I'd have to say I really love the White Buffalo Club for good steak.
Again, everyone has their favorites, but it seems that the go-tos are Blue Lion, which is the oldest of the fine dining restaurants founded in 1976, Snake River Grill, King Sushi, and Persephone Bakery. So if you're visiting the area, stop by there and see why the locals like these. Now, since people came here for the environment, everyone had their opinion of where best to appreciate this nature. Here's a few favorite vantage points.
And I came over Togety Pass to come to Jackson. And there's that view kind of when you're coming over to Togety, like right before you drop into Jackson Hole with the Tetons all out in front of you. And that's still like, whenever I come into Jackson that way, that's definitely my favorite view coming in.
So my favorite vantage point is actually from my boat on Jackson Lake. And it's looking west through Moran Canyon with Moran Bay.
Actually, that's easy. My favorite vantage point is Burl Hill.
Stop. The top of Snow King. The view from the top of Snow King, where you can see the town and see the mountains, is incredible.
Well, I would just say from atop Snow King is pretty magnificent.
And for me, it's coming out of the Gros-Ventre and overlooking the Tetons in the valley. I feel like the way the Tetons stand up when you're leaving the Gros-Ventre, to me, is my favorite.
I really like going up towards like Kelly and just going on the road way back in there, and there's some really cool spots to just look at the Tetons from back there, and it's a great like photography vantage point.
I mean, it's got to be the top of the Grand. Like it's really surreal. It's really surreal being at the top of the mountain and not being able to look up on anything. Like everything you see is below you. And I think that's, as long as I've been here climbing mountains and backpacking and all that, I've never gotten to experience that feeling until I stood on top of the Grand, and you have Delta Lake right under you, Amphitheater Lake, Surprise Lake. You have the entire valley. You can see the Gros-Ventre Wilderness. You can almost see the tallest peak in Wyoming, Gannett Peak, all the way over there in the winds. And you can see behind into Alta and Victor and all those mountains. It's really cool.
So now that I've hopefully got your interest piqued, here's some advice before you go.
So if you're going hiking in the Tetons, don't throw your trash around, you know, pick it up and like keep things beautiful.
Try and stay out of your hotel as much as you can, or wherever you're staying, and just go out and explore. You know, it's totally fine to go in there and like you're gonna be tired out, but you know, for the most part, you should really try and just be exploring the restaurants and you know, just get out into the parks, and you know, don't be afraid to like talk to the locals. The locals will always steer you in the right direction, because we're all excited about, you know, sharing what the life is like out here, right? So,
I mean, the Grand Teton National Park is awesome, and Yellowstone is awesome, but there's so much more beyond them. There's millions of square miles of space that you can go, like the Gros-Ventre Wilderness. Like you could hike for hours and not see anybody, and that's what I really value around here.
I think the number one thing that people can do and should do is always carry bear spray, because you never know what you're going to run into. Like even if you're hiking, you know, on a short little loop, you might run into a bear or run into a moose.
Wildlife are wild, and it seems redundant, but it's amazing that the number of people that are injured with wildlife, whether that's bear or notably bison or moose, they are wildlife. And I would just warn them to respect their distance as for safety, but also for the animals themselves. It's really important that they maintain their wild status and for their survival long term.
As you can see, even with the minor questions like, what is the best hike? Or what is the best restaurant? Everyone has their favorites. There is some overlap between them, but as several people mentioned while talking with me, it's difficult to choose. Thank you for watching, and hopefully you got a taste for Jackson life. To find the next part, click on the playlist I made and follow along there. See you next time, and remember,
Yeah, don't pet the buffalo.